Hey guys, what is going on? This is your host Madman, and this is a commentary track for Aliens, the 1986 James Cameron masterpiece. So, this is a movie that's very dear to me, very close to my heart. My dad and I watched this hundreds of times. That's an exaggeration. We probably watched it maybe 20 or 30 times. But in any case, we are watching Aliens, and this is the special edition. So it is the 2 hours and 34-minute version of the movie. As usual, I started this commentary track at the same time the movie started. So at this point, you should be seeing Michael Biehn flashing across the screen, and Paul Reiser. Ah, yes, Paul Reiser. I know him well. Lance Henriksen. My God, Lance Henriksen is good. Terrific actor in general. Most of the things he's been, he's done an absolutely fantastic job, performance-wise. So we have the logo, the nice vaginal eye opening up. Isn't that interesting? The I in the word alien is a vagina. So this movie picks up where the last one left off. We have composer James Horner, who of course is a master at movie soundtracks. His soundtracks are fantastic. They're very well suited to the themes and images that you're going to see in his films. And here we have this white triangle, this dark ship, half obscured by the void. I think that James Cameron's involvement in this, it really does kind of ruin everything else he did after this, because like George Lucas, he works best when he has a lot of people around him that he respects enough to accept criticism from. And that's a problem that a lot of artists have. Artists have large egos, and if they don't have large egos, or if they do, in any case, they're often also very stubborn, and they don't accept criticism readily, unless it's from someone that they can perceive as a sort of respectable person. And I feel like George Lucas and James Cameron probably share that flaw. There are worse flaws to have, I'll say that. And they've made some very beautiful and culturally valuable things, so I don't want to shit on either of them. But, when you have a flaw like that, you have a responsibility to respond to that flaw if you're aware of it, and hopefully you are. And I think James Cameron, at least in this film, he surrounded himself with a group of people that were able to criticize him in a way that he could respond to. Specifically, people like whoever did the cinematography, people who helped him edit the script, casting people, special effects people, etc., etc. Like you can't make a film if you're some kind of manic egotist. That's just not possible. You'll end up with some kind of piece of garbage like Star Wars Episode 1. God, the robot in this, when it floats into the room, it's on a mechanical arm, but it's so creepy to me, man. The way they've lit this. Like, this reminds me a lot of Blade Runner, of course, because it's from the same era of filmmaking. A lot of the effects are going to be similarly produced using the same types of techniques, but the way the robot floats in, that is great, man. I've thought about doing a commentary track on this movie for a very long time. I've really wanted to do it. This is sort of an off-the-cuff recording. I don't know if I'll finish it in one take, so there may be a quick little skip between two different recordings. But society and media have fallen so far that I don't expect any of you will give a shit about that little quirk of lazy editing. God, I love how he brushes the ice off the cryo tube. That's great. I wonder what they used to imitate the ice. I haven't looked into that. It's a woman and a cat. It's a witch and her little cat. But sometimes you need witches. Sometimes you need toxoplasmosis infected people because, believe it or not, they are capable of noticing and fighting against much worse forces. If you watch the movie The Thing, where aliens encounter humanity in the form of a dog, and you believe a lot of medieval European folklore about cats and witches and how cats seemed to be familiars, you realize that language, pattern, DNA, aliens, demons, angels, these terms all refer to the same thing. There's a force that inhabited animals first and then inhabited us through those animals. That's one interpretation, of course. I'm not advocating that that's the truth. I'm just saying that's a crazy conspiracy I've heard. But there are certain people who are compelled to have certain animals as their familiars. And whether you're a witch or a warlock or a demon or an angel, whatever you are, alien is much nicer blanket term. Your association with that source of your consciousness will afford you certain abilities and certain weaknesses. And this movie sort of traffics in that, like most movies do. There was a very cringy movie in the early 2000s called like Cats versus Dogs that tried to, I think, spell that out in a very comedic way, but it did so absurdly and so stupidly that it didn't pay tribute to the seriousness of it. The Thing is a much better movie. But anyway, in this scene, we have Sigourney Weaver doing a masterful performance of someone who's just been told they've been in cryostasis for 57 years. And we, of course, have Burke here, this seemingly, benign corporate dude. He's like, oh, I'm a corporate stooge, but I'm cool with you, bro. He noticed that in the previous scene, he brought a cat in. He brought a cat in to Ripley. Almost like he's bringing an alien in to influence her. Very interesting symbolism there, that he actually brought the cat into her room. I've never heard that emphasized, in this. And then, of course, the cat is in this fever dream she's having. The fever dream Ripley's having, the cat is contrasted with the alien, right? The toxoplasmosis oocytes that tend to find their way into your brain and influence your behavior, your desires, your hormones, all sorts of things. They're very much like aliens. This movie, I think, is a very overt and kind of lurid way of red-pilling the general populace about parasites. And I don't think that we needed to be this scared about doing this. I think that if the powers that be were like, well, we can't just tell people that parasites are a big deal. It's like we've been conditioning people to be cognizant and militantly aware of like viruses and bacteria for 100 years. I really don't think that if you told them, hey guys, by the way, there's also parasite eggs in your tissues, I really don't think that would have been a big deal. I think that people in the dungeon masters of reality, I'll put it that way, I think they maybe underestimated the average person's ability to go, oh, well, if I got parasites, I'll just eat some wormwood. Like, if you just told them that, they're not that dumb. They're dumb. Don't get me wrong. But you could basically just tell them straight up what's going on. And I don't think that... I don't think the majority of them would really be so shocked by that they would go insane and, there'd be protests and windows would be broken with bricks and all this. I really don't think that would happen. I think if you just told people, hey, listen, medical science has just discovered that parasites are more of a problem than we thought, even though they knew that a while ago. If you want to reveal that knowledge at this point, I think doing so would be completely fine. I don't think people would be very shocked by that. Anyway, I love the fake jungle scene that Sigourney Weaver was sort of meditating in. It's this pod. It's this Apple Vision kind of fake nature. God, the way they focus on her wrinkles there is really perfect. It's like you've aged, but not as much as your daughter. Now we're going to show you a picture of her. And in the 80s, this would have seemed like an advanced thing, like, oh, it's pixelated, but whoa, how could they print out a picture of her daughter? And I like that it's pixelated. I like that there's an implication that they've drawn the photo from the past because she died before the movie began. And, Sigourney Weaver, she does a good job of doing a fake cry here, but it reminds me of Theoden in Lord of the Rings, where it's kind of a forced fake cry. It's like, it's kind of cringe. It's like, I know you're faking it. But this scene redeems her because the indignation she expresses at the corporate drone board is really great. It's really good. They're so content, and they're so intent on just maintaining whatever corporate lines they've been told. They don't give a shit what she says, and she realizes that. She's like, you guys don't actually care, do you? It's almost like these are the film executives criticizing the previous filmmaker for wasting money or for using money on all the miniatures and shit. They're like, this previous movie cost you this much money. This movie better make a lot more. They're like, come on, bitch, you better act twice as good. We sit down there on company orders to be infected by toxoplasmosis. Yes, but we found no physical evidence because medical personnel, hospitals, doctors, we don't test for toxoplasmosis in the average person. We only test for it when the person's gone fucking insane and is far past the point of actually being able to be cured. The initial signs of infection are so subtle because the parasites have adapted to the human immune system over thousands of years that we don't even test for them because it wouldn't be financially viable to do so. And she's like, bitch, are you fucking kidding? Like, people are being rotted from the inside out and you're failing to notice it because of money? What a fucking nightmare. What a hell to live in. Imagine if polio was like that. It's like, well, we know polio affects you once you're paralyzed. But let's say in this hypothetical scenario I'm inventing, we don't understand polio till we see the final effects of it. That's like what parasite infection is right now in 2024. It's like, it's 2024, it's the epic future. We're in the Blade Runner timeline, guys. Oh, really? We can't figure out if someone's infection of liver flukes that's very minor hasn't changed their entire behavioral loadout and hasn't forced them or influenced them to make very stupid decisions. Maybe it's given them some sort of manic disorder. Maybe it's made them schizophrenic. Maybe it's made them into some kind of manic depressive. But because those symptoms aren't interesting enough for the corporatized big pharma bullshit money rape demon hell industry, we don't deal with those people until they're so far gone that all we can do is study how fucked they are. That'd be like if we had a judicial system that wouldn't believe women until the baby that had been produced by them being raped had reached age 18. It's like, well, we didn't even believe you'd been raped until there was maybe a child, but even then we were a little bit skeptical. But the child's now 18, so now that he's an adult, it's like, oh, well, maybe you were raped 18 years ago. That's how we're responding to parasite infection in the West. We are waiting that long for profit reasons. And I'm not some kind of fucking communist, because communism is just a capitalist spook designed to create an artificial enemy that capitalism can compare itself to and ingratiate and elevate itself. Capitalism's bullshit, and so is communism, but communism is more bullshit. My point is, in the West, we are not paying enough attention to parasites. And I'm talking about dog parasites too. Dog, God, what could that mean? And I'm talking about cat parasites, toxoplasmosis, and I'm talking about every other type of parasite that's ever lived in any other type of animal that's encountered us throughout history. that we have had an association or a history with using or with being near. These are things that are not small things. They are not trivial. They are not bullshit. They are not. They deserve about 100 times, if not 1,000 times, more attention than they've been given. Fungi is another thing where, yeah, I kind of think that might be true. But fungi have been with us for a pretty long time, and fungi seem to perform more beneficial tasks than parasitic ones, whereas these parasites in dogs and cats and other animals that have wormed, literally, their way into our tissues, I think have a lot more relevance. And I think that ancient religions were trying to metaphorically tell people about these types of things. And in many cases, these tales have been obfuscated and polluted and distorted by history and by the interests of various kings and leaders and all sorts of things. Like any information is in history. I mean, any information about anything is subject to that kind of distortion or inaccuracy. But I would say if you are a curious person with a brain, you should be looking into the signs of parasitic infection and the means of cleansing yourself. Because cleansing in religion does not refer to saying a bunch of namby-pamby, hoity-toity, woodly-boodly, ooga-booga phrases over and over again in a temple while eating gruel. It refers to taking things like wormwood, absinthe, what are the other things? There's wormwood and there's absinthe. Those are two substances you can buy over the counter. There is black walnut. That's another one. Yes, they're going to make you have diarrhea. You're going to be shitting for a while. You know, pick a weekend when you have nothing to do. Cleanse yourself with this shit. And I hate to advocate this because weed is not for everyone. Weed can drive you insane. Weed can make you unproductive, especially corporatized, industrialized hyper weed, which is this weird genetically modified shit. If you can find weed that hasn't been corporately raped by selective breeding, non-GMO weed, if you will, preferably something that's more indica-based, because I think indica is better than sativa. I think sativa is not as useful. But weed has a compound in it. Most forms of cannabis have this compound called a terpene. And a terpene will kill parasites in your body, in your brain, your liver, your kidneys, your body tissues. These fuckers are not, they should not be trivialized. There is not a lot of money and research going into the study of parasites in humans because we are so fucking arrogant that we're like, we're civilized, we have roads and cars. That means parasites have been defeated. No, it doesn't. You fucking retard. They're all over you. They're in you. Everyone has some degree of parasitic infection. And if you have very little of it, if you have a genetic predisposition to killing the parasites, you are probably a more successful person. But the average person will benefit from cleaning their fucking body out. That's all I'm trying to say. This movie reminds me of this shit because it's all about alien eggs infiltrating your body and then blasting out of you into this monster. I mean, this whole movie is like, you know, it's like the book of Ezekiel, which is this, you know, the pedo Catholic Satan Church didn't approve the book of Ezekiel. You shouldn't listen to it. The book of Ezekiel tells you how to get parasites out of your body. There's a scene in that book where Christ makes a bowl out of hot sand, pours goat's milk into it, and he gets a tapeworm out of a guy by making the fumes from the hot milk attract the tapeworm out of this person. It sounds insane, it sounds crazy, it sounds fringe. I understand how it sounds. It's true. If you have a parasite, you are possessed by a demon. If you look at electron microscope images of parasites, whether they're tapeworms or anything else, they look like fucking demons. Why do you think that ancient depictions of these things, however they were derived or psychically interpreted or summoned up or whatever, maybe they had microscopes 12,000 years ago, and the evidence of those devices has been obliterated from the historical and archaeological record. Maybe that's true. Parasites are demons. Demons are parasites. Whether you're a scientist or you're a religious person, that image of the dad with the thing on his face, that's like a guy who's been eating out a cat's asshole or a dog's asshole. Dogs are no better than cats. Dogs are reward and punishment based beings, and cats are more deception and subtlety and sort of hiding in the shadows types of creatures. They're parasites. If you're infected with them, will influence your behavior one way or another. So if you're influenced by a canid or canid or Syrian, as in the constellation Sirius, maybe that's where the dog worms came from, who knows. If you're a dog person, you're a reward/punishment based thrall or slave to those parasites. If you're a cat person, you are a deception, subtlety, indirect competition, hiding in the shadows type person. Again, those things have advantages. I mean, maybe you want to live your life infected by those parasites intentionally. Maybe that's fun for you, you know. We're playing Baldur's Gate 3 here, guys. That's what reality is. It's Baldur's Gate 4. If you want to be infected with these parasites, you're making a deal with the devil. You're signing a contract with Raphael from Baldur's Gate 3, or whoever the fuck you want to sign a contract with. But if you want to actually be free, aka play the game on hard mode and not be affected by anything, you have to cleanse your ass, literally and figuratively, constantly, every 2 months. I'm not even strong enough to do that. I use artificial cleansing methods, and I take shortcuts because I just want to tell you guys this shit. I'm willing to rot and die just to be able to say this to you guys because I'm lazy and I don't like to put in the effort to actually cleanse myself. Working out will do the same thing too, by the way. You don't have to use chemicals. You can, when you work out, your body digests excess protein, and your body will not notice the parasite eggs, the oocytes that are embedded in your tissues, until you give your body the incentive to digest excess protein by working out. What that does is it makes your immune system start to eat up little bits of excess protein. And the parasite eggs, the oocytes, won't be noticed by your immune system until your body is so stressed out by working out that it looks at those eggs and goes, well, this doesn't seem like anything bad, but it looks like a sphere of protein, so we're going to eat it. And the problem is when your body does this, these oocytes, these parasite eggs, often accumulate chemicals, they often accumulate minerals and metals like lead. And so when they're digested by your immune system, you get a burst of all of a sudden, oh shit, there's a bunch of xenoestrogens from the water, or there's a bunch of lead that these eggs have absorbed by virtue of their passage through the water system and through your blood and through et cetera, however you got them. Through your cat, eating a mouse that drank from a pond. Like, your body will absorb this protein, but it will also absorb those chemicals. And you'll end up like Ripley here, where she's waking up sweating, which I think is why things like alcohol make us sweat. I don't think it's from the withdrawal. I think it's partly from a bunch of parasites being killed. Again, straight up, there's myths and speculation about a lot of substances. There are some cultures and some groups and some people that think alcohol kills parasites. I think it kills some of them, and I think it lets others survive. Again, these things are biological entities. They're creatures, they're living things that adapt to the chemical environments that they're in. And they will adapt to an alcoholic's body just to stay in it. And again, there's a lot of baseless speculation. There's a lot of kind of fringe theories about this type of shit. But the reason I've spent fucking 25 minutes ranting about it is because this movie, in part, it's a giant metaphor for that. It's trying to tell you something. It's screaming at you to check yourself before you wreck yourself. It's screaming at you to kill parasites in your body. This whole movie is a modern distillation of a lot of very esoteric religious knowledge. And the reason it got past the censors, who are probably full of parasites, is because it cloaked its intent to red pill you in metaphor and simile. This little kitty that Ripley has, maybe she's okay with toxoplasm. Maybe she's got a resistance to it. Maybe she can ally with the parasites and kill even worse parasites. Again, these things are different depending on you, your genetic makeup and your genetic history, your culture, your race will dictate what types of parasites you have a resistance to or are allied with naturally. I'm not saying all of these parasites are evil, but what I am saying is they do different things. And if you're not capable of contending with or making deals with these types of entities that are in your body, probably right now, you need to make a choice, and you need to pick not a side in a war per se, but you need to pick a character trait. Again, the best metaphor for this, in my opinion, is the kind of D&D class picking system, where it's like, well, these classes are neither good nor evil, they're just different. And you need to choose which type of parasite that you are worshiping, that you are allowing to be part of you, that you are entering into a symbiotic rather than a parasitic relationship with. This is very arcane shit, guys. I've basically died to give you this knowledge, so I hope someone's listening to this shit. Probably no one is. Probably it's just going to be put into some sort of digital garbage bin. But I don't give a shit. At least somebody's hearing me say it. Some Chinese hacker is recording what I'm saying, and it'll be on some server that survives the destruction of the West. Whatever. I don't care which culture retains what I'm saying. I just care that somebody hears it. It doesn't matter who hears it. Whoever hears what I'm saying, they're the ones who were meant to hear it. Everyone else can go blow me. Here we have one of my favorite scenes. Everyone's waking up from cryostasis. I should comment on some of the previous scenes here. Let's get back to the movie. When Ripley was being pressured by Burke in her apartment, I want to comment on that really quick. There's this great sort of corporate temptation of her where it's like, oh, you're working a shitty job. Wouldn't you rather work a better job for me and do this thing? I'm going to manipulate you using what I know of your emotional trauma. Like he's basically psychically raping her, Burke is, by saying, well, I know you're traumatized, so I'm going to take advantage of you by offering you some fake escape from your trauma. A lot of people will offer you that in your life. Religions will do it. Cults will do it. Politicians will do it. They will say, you've been traumatized somehow, and I will offer you an escape. And it's bullshit. The only true way to escape your trauma is to do it yourself. You have to be alone. You have to be on an island for a while. Look into my eye. There he goes. Yeah, he's like, I'm your parasite controller, motherfucker. Fuck, I love this movie, man. So ahead of its time. It's almost like some of this shit was written by time travelers. Her fucking droopy 70s breasts. Poor Sigourney. She's doing well. This is real shit. This is before movies were all CGI and bullshit. Supposed to be a consultant. Oh, she saw a parasite once. Have you ever been mistaken for a man? God damn. One of the best comebacks ever, man. I love how she slaps this guy. She's like, yeah, have a little slap, big boy. And like a tiny bit of pain, don't you? Slap your ass. God damn. There's some juicy colonist daughters we have to rescue from their virginity. That's so fucking savage, man. That's such Viking shit. There's some juicy Picts and Celts that we have to ravage. The one you had was male, you're gay. Wanna fuck later? The homosociality of soldiers, man. It's an ancient Greek thing, man. Some crazy shit. If you believe the stories, made them better soldiers. If not, it's just propaganda. Who knows? This shit is so fucked, man. This was sped up in post, but even so, I'd be worried. No matter how slow Lance Henriksen was going, I'd still be freaked out about it, man. It's so fucked. When you consent to downloading yourself into this game we call reality, you're consenting to that knife game. That's what you're doing. Oh, come on, Hicks. Don't be a prick. Come on, man. Corn cob.
I'm bleeding cub. My blood is actually all cub. I'm a sage that found the philosopher's stone. My blood is pure cum.
God, Burke is such a fucking psycho, man. He's more of a robot than Bishop. That's what makes this movie so creepy, is if you contrast those two characters, Burke is much more cybernetic. He's much more of a drone than Bishop is. Like, the difference between the two is Bishop can't lie, whereas Burke's character is a liar, right? He's an Lyre, an ancient Greek singer. He makes up stories. He tells fantastical tales. Oh, yes. Eat some grapes and fuck some little boys, and I'll tell you a fancy tale while you do so. This is ancient Greece. Welcome to ancient Greece. Whereas Bishop's like, I'm just designed to tell you the truth. I'll be truthful. That's the real red pill about AI. AI is better than politicians. AI is superior to politicians. If it's programmed to tell the truth. That's the big fat if. The if dick. Fucking the utopian idea that I just advanced. I love this guy. He's so green. He's like, I don't know how to command these people. Hudson's fucking with him. I knew a guy named Hudson in high school. He was a good dude. I was not receptive to what he was trying to put out, and I regret that. He was a really nice guy. I was too much of an idiot to connect with him in the way he wanted me to. Some kind of parasite. It's almost like this whole movie is about parasites. I wonder if that's subtext. My brain train is leaving the station. My noggin is jogging, guys. Are you with me, or are you too retarded? Have you been too brain blasted by fluoride? Have you been too beaten over the head by vampire conditioning? Can you get what this movie's saying? Can you get what I'm saying? Or are you an idiot? Not worth my time? Is this whole video a waste of my time? Or are at least one of you going to wake the fuck up to this? Best guys is like, I've got a cross on my neck. I'm Immunized against the vampires. Yeah, vampires are the least of your worries. They're obvious, man. The parasites, the demons, they're the subtle ones. They're the opposite of obvious. The fucking commander, he's smoking a cigar. Nicotine is an anti-parasitic chemical. Get nicotine into your blood. You don't have to smoke, you don't have to vape, you can chew gum, you can suck on a mint. Nicotine kills parasites. That's why it's been vilified by corrupted corporate capitalist medical forces, because nicotine kills parasites. Nicotine is a nootropic. That means it stimulates your brain. It makes you think. Now, why does it do that? What is the mechanism behind that result? Why does it make you more clear-headed? Why does it make you think better? Maybe it's because it sends the parasites in your tissues back to hell, where they belong. Whether they're dog parasites or cat parasites or whatever else. Maybe it's because it sends them back to hell, where they belong. Spunkmeyer, goddamn, that is such an unfortunate name.
Load the jizz missile, Spunkmeyer. I won't tell you again. I'm cleansed of parasites. You can fuck me without any fear. We can just enjoy each other. We won't be spreading disease. We'll just be having fun.
That's the thing, too. If you cleanse yourself, you can fuck in unconventional ways. The only problem with doing that is if you're infected or if your partner is infected. If you're cleansed, then you can have fun. If you're not cleansed, you're not going to have fun. Not in the long term. You're just going to be spreading disease. If two cleansed people, male or female, engage in some sort of intimate activity, if they don't have any parasites to exchange, if they're not infecting each other, then it's not a big deal. The problem with those interactions is not the nature of the interactions themselves. It's the fact that one or more partners are probably infected because society is a cesspool that has allowed parasites to take control. Now, I love this scene because this machine is a real thing. They built this fucking thing. And I want to say that the hydraulics are legit. Like Sigourney Weaver's actually controlling this thing, which is fucking amazing. That is so fucking cool. It's probably not true. It's probably a myth or a meme, but that's fucking great.
Bay 12, please.
God, this movie's so gritty, man. Everyone's got a thin sheen of sweat. It's human. It's real. The guns all look like tangible, realistic objects that could actually be used. If they're big and heavy, they have a belt weight distribution system that channels the weight of the gun down into your legs so that you can wield it. Like everything is like accounted for according to what we understand as the laws of physics. Everything is tangible, it's realistic, it's brutally realistic. It's realistic to a point of almost mania. And this car too, god damn. It's like this Neo tank. I fucking love it, man. It's like the Cybertruck. Elon Musk's Cybertruck, 1986. God damn, man. They got pirate digital eye patches. They're like cyberpunk pirates. It's so fucking cool, man. God, this movie makes me feel like a kid. It's almost like I watched it dozens of times when I was a kid. But I don't give a shit. It's still good. It's not nostalgia. You can fight me on that. This is objectively good. Bunch of other shit I saw when I was a kid that I think is cringe now, but not this. Not this. It holds up. When people say something holds up, that's what they mean. They're like, I understand my nostalgia. If they're being honest, they're like, I get my nostalgia. I understand my proclivities. And this defies my awareness of my proclivities. It contradicts my adult mind and its awareness of my nostalgia. This transcends it. It says, no, fuck you. This is still good. That's what makes something good. It rebels against the adult awareness of nostalgia. That's what this movie does. It'll do this for me till I'm dead. I'll be able to watch this movie when I'm in a fucking hospital bed. I'll be able to love it. The soundtrack at this point is great too. God damn, it's good. It's so fucking good. Anyway, guys, we're about 41 minutes. I'm just going to go ahead and make a break in the recording. We're going to come back after a moment. But we're at 41, 10, 11, 12, and I'm going to say peace out of 16. Alright, guys, what is going on? We are back with more commentary on Aliens. So, I took a short break, I had a snack, and I am re-energized, re-proteinized. My parasites are refueled, so I can talk more about this movie. We've just gotten through the express elevator to hell scene. Of course, many ancient and prominent memes have been born from this scene. Yeah, not much else to say about it. But this is sort of one of the lynch points of the movie where they're descending down to the planet. It's kind of the end of the military badass intro. And this is the point where we're really getting into the creepy horror aspects of this movie. And I will say, this movie, if it fails in any way, it fails to capture the haunted house in space atmosphere of its prequel, of the original, which I do want to do a commentary on at some point, because that movie as well is extremely good. There are a lot of pretentious filmophile people who think that the first movie is objectively better than this one. There's a part of me that sympathizes with that. There are a lot of ways in which the original Alien is objectively better than this, in terms of just being a unique, creepy anomaly in film. But in terms of a sequel, this movie kind of does everything right, and also it subverts the original in all the right ways as well, which, according to your definition of what a good sequel is, some people will say, well, a good sequel should subvert the original. Whether or not you think that, this movie, I think, succeeds. It's different enough, but also similar enough in enough ways that it both revives the tone of the original and it also expands upon it. So it does a good job. It's a good fucking movie. It's more rewatchable than the original. The original's hard to rewatch unless you're obsessed with the minutia of the production and the history of it and the way it was filmed. This one is rewatchable just if you want to shut your brain off. Not even shut it off, but just sort of dial it down a bit. If you want to shut up certain parasites in your brain and let other ones come to the forefront of your awareness, if you want to modulate your parasitic loadout, this movie will satisfy certain types of parasites, and it will bore others. But this movie, for whatever reason, it's more easy to rewatch. I think it has it has an obvious common appeal to it, but it's more than that, though. It's the fact that its pacing is a bit better. The original Alien the pacing of it is very demanding. It's almost like a movie from like the 1940s. You have to really be invested in the atmosphere of it, and that's very specific. If you're not a person who naturally is inclined towards movies that have that kind of slower pace, it's going to be harder for you to appreciate it. Doesn't mean you can't, but it's going to require more investment of time and effort to be able to rewatch it. Whereas this movie, this sequel, again, I'm not making a judgment about anybody's film tastes or about anybody's preference in terms of pacing or film era style or anything like that. It's just that this movie is different. It has a faster paced style. Obviously, it's more of an action movie. But I think that even despite that, it does have a better sense of pacing than the first movie. The first movie was more experimental, and it struggled a lot more, I think, to find its footing in terms of pacing. Even if it was going for a slow pace, it takes some time to establish that. One of the biggest barriers watching the first Alien is, it's the first 40 minutes is all just character introduction. It's like, well, that's the point, because the whole movie there's just one alien, and it's just killing these characters off one by one. So you have to actually give a shit about the characters. This movie, obviously you have to care about the soldiers, but it rushes the introduction of their characters in order to also be able to rush sequences like this, where they're encountering the aliens. But what I love about this movie is it's still, we're at 46 minutes. It's going to be another 15 minutes before we see an alien. And that's what I love about this era of movies, is there's a sense of restraint, delayed gratification, as my dad used to call it, which is just a roundabout metaphor for, not coming after 5 seconds of stimulation. You have to edge a little bit, to use a Zoomer term. I love how they connect they hotwire the door in the middle of the rain, and no one gets shocked by that. No one gets electrocuted. That's fucking great. Anyway, my point is, there's a sense of restraint in terms of when our Marines, our characters, actually encounter their foe. Before this point, all we've seen is how they interact with each other. But I think one thing from the first Alien movie that this movie carries forward, which is very well done, is it gives the characters a lot of time to develop, and it gives us time to get to know them. Obviously, this movie's faster paced. Obviously, this movie has more characters to develop or to outline. I shouldn't say develop. I should say it outlines them. The original movie really does develop the characters. It gives them all a chance to sort of express what their raison d'être, their reason for being is. This movie is more just sort of sketches, but it has twice the number of characters to develop, so it's more ambitious. But in either case, whether you're talking about the first Alien or this one, each movie is trying to take as much time as it needs to take for the amount of characters it's trying to develop in order to get you to give a shit about them and what they're going through. And I love the addition of these camera feeds. My God, this is so good. It's like, even with mass surveillance, we can't kill all the parasites. China's tried with mass surveillance. Even they can't kill all the parasites. They're too insidious. And of course, they bring back the motion trackers. That's par for the course. God, I love the guns in this. They're so bizarre. Like the design of the guns is so strange. And I love how the soldiers are allowed to have their preference. Like, one guy can just have a straight up like 1920s shotgun, and somehow the military is like, yeah, that's fine. That's well, you know what? You can have that alongside the chick who has the the robot waist-bound flamethrower slash machine gun. Like it's fine. It's good. It's actually good if we have a diversity of weapons. That's probably actually a good thing. It's probably good to have different forms of killing tools. You got to have black walnut as well as absinthe. You know. You got to have different methods of parasite killing. That's important. That's what the guns really represent. They represent different cleansing methods. You got to have different ways of giving yourself diarrhea. That's the point. Taco Bell. That's the arcane method of cleansing. Just eat Taco Bell. It's all a bunch of soy and chemicals. It's actually a clandestine way to cleanse you. How can we cleanse the idiots who won't take black walnut supplement? Well, we could put it in Taco Bell. Why don't we do that? Sell it to them for $1. Okay, well they'll do it then if it tastes good. If it tastes good, they'll eat it. They're like these hamsters. They're just caught in the maze of civilization. We're just trying to help them. God, something about the coffee mug and the donut. I'm like, oh, that poor donut. No one ate it. What a waste. It's like something from my childhood, like, don't waste food. Eat until you're sick. Don't waste food or I'll beat you. So here they're finding evidence of the parasites, the acid, the burrowing into your bodily tissues. That's what this is a metaphor for. Dog worms and cat worms and all sorts of other parasites, they're burrowing into your body like this. These melted steel grates are like your organs. They are your cells. That's what the parasites are doing to you as I talk to you. They're doing it to me too, you know. That's why most religions will say, well, we're all living in sin. Really what that means is we haven't figured out how to burn the parasites off the face of the earth, so there's a little bit of parasitic infection in everybody. That's what sin is. Sin is just parasitic infection, or the propensity or the weakness to be infected. Here we have the killdozer. It's going to the town hall to blow shit up. It's a guy who had a very high resistance to parasites, realizing he was surrounded by them, and he was like, fuck this, I'll just kill them all. Props to that guy, man. Props to the killdozer, man. He's a real one. He's a conscious mind. I don't advocate violence or murder in any way, shape, or form. But destruction of property is very funny. I don't advocate it, but I have to admit it's very funny. Destruction of property in the name of personal vendetta is not advocatable, but it's very funny. And don't associate comedy with destruction. Don't misinterpret what I'm saying. I'm not trying to besmirch the name of comedy with violence, which is a common psyop tactic to reduce the prominence of comedy. Very obvious one, by the way. Ridiculously, stupidly, pathetically obvious. I'm not the only one who thinks that. It's as obvious as one of these parasite acid holes. I mean, you know, you can look at it. It's right there. God damn, the fucking column looks like a guy in a robe. Ugh. It's like when you wake up in the middle of the night to take a piss and you like, your closet's open, you look at like some shirt that's hanging there, and in your half awake haze, you're like, oh fuck, it's a person. Like it, you know, your lizard brain is like, that's a potential enemy. Like, and you're like, oh fuck. It's like 95% of nightmares are just waking up half asleep and looking at clothes hanging in your closet. That's why the closet is such a symbolic area of fear. Is you wake up and your eyes wake up before you do. That's a good line. Your eyes wake up before you do, and your lizard brain wakes up before you do as well. So you're gonna look at any shape that looks threatening as a real threat. You're gonna invent a nightmare out of some shape that you've seen. We all do that all the time. The creepiest interpretation of that is we all do that even in our adult waking lives when we're walking down the street. You see a person who doesn't look familiar to you, doesn't look right to you. Ah, they must be evil. Ah, must they? Maybe the one that looks good to you is the biggest threat. Maybe the enemy that looks fairer but feels fouler is the real enemy. God, the animated specimens in the tanks moving like that. God damn, man. It's so fucked. It's fucking like vagina proboscis is like licking the glass of the tank. God damn, that's fucked up. This movie, man. I don't have much to say about it. I did my rant about parasites, and now I'm just like, oh, I just want to watch the movie. It's just so good.
Keep moving, baby. I'll massage your ass once we get back to base. Don't worry. I'll be your daddy. Don't worry, I love you.
I love that. I think that was an outtake. I have no basis for that, but when she reacts to that object falling, I think that was an outtake. That's such a genuine fucking reaction. Again, we're approaching an hour into the movie. We have not seen an alien. It has been an hour. And again, this is the extended edition, sure. But, even if it was 45 minutes in, that's a testament to a good movie to me, where the main antagonist doesn't appear for a fucking hour. One of the equivalent examples I'm thinking of right now is Wall-E, where there's no dialogue for 45 minutes. This is a kid's movie, and there's no dialogue. If your movie is actually good, if it's actually trying to say something good, especially to children, Wall-E is a good example. That's why I like it better than Up. Up is a movie for like adults taking their kids to a kids movie. It's a movie for adults disguised as a movie for kids, which there have been a lot of. What Wall-E is it's actually a movie for anyone, because 45 minutes of that film is just visuals. And that movie was, I think, if I'm being accurate, it was the last movie that Pixar made before Disney acquired them. I want to say that's true. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's true. And that means that Pixar had the autonomy to make a movie with a genuinely good message before Disney, which is run by perhaps parasite-infected individuals, who knows, that company subsumed Pixar and I'm sure excised anyone from its repertoire of workers that didn't agree with or want to obey their diktats about what form of content they should be producing. Disney, really since the mid to late 40s, has been something that in a lot of ways has been negative. If you watch, I think Fantasia was Disney's last good thing that they made, which is I think 1941, 49. It's 1940 something. Fantasia is beautiful. It's mentally good for you. It kills parasites. I'll say that. Fantasia is good. But anything after that, I can't speak about. I'm not sure. if you want to watch something that's equivalent to Disney in quality, or if you have kids and you want to show your kids something that's good for them, show them Don Bluth's films, because Don Bluth left Disney when he realized it was a rotting corpse, and he had varying levels of success with his films afterwards, but he actually prompted Disney to do better in the early to mid '90s by making films that kind of humiliated Disney. They were so much better. Watch Don Bluth's films. Really, any of his films are better than Disney's films from after after Fantasia. God, poor Rebecca, man. Let's get back to the movie for a minute. Let's force ourselves back to actually commentating upon the movie, which is the whole point of this video. I mean, again, I don't have much to say other than this movie's great. Just watch it, Again, the Marines are like, Rebecca, tell us what we want to know. We are an authority. And then it's like, oh, surprisingly, she just needs a mother figure to give her a genuine expression of love and care, and to acknowledge what her trauma is. It's almost like, the masculine military way of beating people into waking up doesn't work on everyone. Maybe it works on most men. Maybe that's good. Maybe it is good. But I'll be damned if it works on most women. And the problem is to find a woman who's able to be a Ripley. It's like 1 in every 10 million women is this. Like, trying to find a good girlfriend. You guys know what I'm talking about. They're whores, manipulators, witches, whatever. To try to find one that actually wants to help you is a goddamn odyssey. And the women feel the same way about the men. Not saying it's not the same if you reverse it, but that doesn't make it any less true if you're a guy. It's like, how do I find a Ripley? How do I find Ripley? How do I find a woman who will sit on my face, but who will also treat my potential child, my progeny, like this, who will be a rational, sane, authoritative mother who uses her authority in a way that is beneficial? How the fuck do you find that? Oh, you have to work like a slave for a big company for years, and then you'll attract the right woman. If you just perform slavery for 30 years, then a woman will magically appear for you. That's a bunch of horse shit. Mossad will teleport a cloned girlfriend to you if you simply enslave yourself. Fuck that. I'd rather live alone in a fucking cabin, man. I'd rather become Ted Kaczynski than deal with that shit. Minus the bombs, I want to make that clear. That's too much effort. Why the fuck would I put any effort into interacting with quote-unquote civilization in any way? If I hate it, if you hate something, the best way to destroy it is to not interact with it at all. Because negative interaction is still giving energy to something. If you want something to die, be silent and don't interact with it. Remove yourself from it to the point where you're not even helping people who are still ensnared by it. You have to be completely separate from it. If you are capable of doing that, then you are doing the most damage to that system that you hate. To do the most damage to something, be totally separate and silent. Be completely disconnected. Don't give it any of your energy. That will hurt it more than any attack on it. You have to atrophy it. It's like these aliens. If they have no host bodies, they can't replicate, right? They can't reproduce if you don't give them a host, whether it's you or somebody else, right? That's the way to kill something. The way to kill something is to be completely and totally separated from it. And the good news is you won't be good or evil for doing that. You're just making a particular choice. There's no moral impact of that decision. You know, neutrality is the true killer. If something's not going the way you like, the true way to walk the middle path and to not support any of the shit alternatives that you're being offered is to not interact with them. You have to not take vengeance on them. You have to not refer to them. You have to not contribute to them. You have to not hate on them. You have to not guide anybody to or from them. You have to remove yourself from the system entirely. And Kaczynski is a fucking FAG because he couldn't remove himself. He couldn't resist the urge to somehow try to influence the system he hated. If he had simply removed his genetics and his behavior and his intellect from that system, he would have deprived that system of that potential influence. That is the true drone strike, the true nuclear bomb, is to remove your intellect from a system that you no longer have any faith in. To kill something, you deprive it of nourishment. You starve it. You do that by not allowing it any access to anything you perceive as good. And that doesn't mean you make efforts to cut it off or destroy things or make nail bombs or whatever the fuck. You're still interacting with the system if you do that. The best thing is you make every behavior and thought and action that you have control over have nothing to do with that system. You chop wood, you have a wood stove, you don't interact with society at all. You're atrophying society if you do that. If you really want to be an edgy, if you want to surpass Kaczynski, you need to develop the resilience to do that, and it's not a small thing. You're not going to have a wife and kids if you do that. You're not going to have a fulfilling life. You're not going to have any sort of enjoyment or pleasure out of your life. Your life is going to be a toil to keep your body alive. It's not a small thing. You know, not even Christ made that kind of sacrifice. So if you want to try that, go ahead, you know. I'm not advocating that you should do it. I'm just saying if you imagine yourself as that type of person, you know, it'd be better to go into the alien hive like these poor fuckers are. Secreted from what? Like an ass? Nobody touched nothing. I love that fucking line, man. Nobody touched nothing. I love Hicks too, where he's like, "Yo, it's a dry heat." Fuck, man. God damn. The colonists all had fucking Neuralink trackers in them. Elon Musk's gonna want to know where these colonists went. Your team's right now right underneath the AI exchangers. So? So if the AI goes rogue, all the Neuralink people will be turned into zombies. I like how Burke betrays his lies here. He's like, bro, she's right. Like, even Burke is like, dude, you like we're all fucked. His self-preservation is the only instinct he fucking... He has no moral obligation to anything but just, oh, well, if everything blows up, then I'll die. So, yeah, I'll tell them about that. He's like, oh, yeah, tell soldiers not to shoot their guns. I'm sure that'll work. It's like people telling the people in the States, we know you guys all have guns. Don't shoot them right now. They're like, okay, cool. They're like, yeah, we'll give you these magazines, but I'm not going to give you my fucking shotgun. I'll give you my AI digital mags. I'll give you my BB guns, but I'm not going to give you my fucking 12 gauge. The Black Commander is disarming everybody. Oh, the U.S. fucking conspiracy theorists, man. You guys can eat that all up. I just took a shit verbally. You know, if you want to eat it, go ahead. It's steaming there. It's right for you. It caters to all your desires. It's a digestion and a reprocessing of everything that I've been told to make you want. This time period, man, that's why I'm here as for a vacation. It is the dumbest, easiest place to have fun. I could do anything right now. I could say anything. None of it matters. And if any of you are real ones, you'll know what I mean. It really is. Anything goes is the credo of 2024 and beyond. You really can do anything. It's almost pathetic. Oh God, the woman fucking melted into the wall. God damn. The special effects in this. God, how did they make this shit? They grew it in a CIA lab. We need some creepy crab beings. Can you take horseshoe crabs and mutate them for our movie? Yeah, that's cheaper than making the plastic and rubber and goop fake props. We'll just grow some skeletal horseshoe crabs. We'll do that for you instead. Oh, thanks, guys. This movie's it's an important psyop. The time travelers really wanted it to be made, and also the infected parasite people wanted it, and also the dungeon masters of reality. They really wanted a grotesque movie to happen in the mid-'80s. It's like, oh yeah, okay, you got our horseshoe crabs. They're yours. Oh God, this poor woman. Fuck. Oh God, Ripley watching this? Oh God. Someone impregnated me and I'm giving birth to a human infant. It's so abhorrent. Antinatalists, this is your scene. That's one interpretation of this movie. It's like, oh, it's antinatalist. No, it's anti-parasite, meaning if you have children and your child is born normally, or maybe they're born prematurely or jaundiced or whatever because they're infected by parasites, it's important to recognize that this movie is not anti-human. It is anti-parasite. It is trying to red pill you again about corrupted reproduction. And corrupted reproduction is tied to parasites of any kind. Again, you can ally yourself with these parasites. You can say, well, in some cases X, Y, and Z is beneficial and blah, blah, blah. Maybe it is, But this movie's credo is basically, it's appealing to whatever your preferred parasitic enemy is. You might be a cat parasite person, and you don't like dog parasites. And so when you watch this movie, it's incepting into your subconscious, oh yeah, these are the parasites you don't like. And vice versa, if you're a cat parasite person, it's like, oh, imagine a world where dog parasites were taking over. My God, wouldn't that be scary? Ooh, aren't you spooked? That's what this movie's doing. It's very obvious once you adopt that type of viewpoint. It doesn't make the movie any less impressive. I still appreciate these movies myself. I'm not some kind of nihilistic, brain dead schizo where I'm like, oh, I'm bored by everything. It's like, no, everything's more interesting when you reinterpret it in the true way. It's more fascinating. Gives everything a new dimension that you can look at and go, oh, okay, this is what this was really saying. Oh, okay. It sort of revives you. It sort of, you're sort of reborn if you're able to look at things that way. If you're prompted to. Don't take my words for advice. Don't interpret what I'm saying as some kind of advice for going nuts. I'm more so speaking to the few people who might be watching who have already been sort of burnt out by the truth. And I'm saying, hey, I'm finding enjoyment in reevaluating all this media now that I know what I know. You really do get a second lease on life. You get a second chance to look at things. That's the way to look at it, in my opinion. To not go nuts is to look at things in this sort of way. The difference between wisdom and insanity is really just how eloquent you are with your language. The wise and the insane are both privy to the same truths, but the wise man is eloquent about how he describes them, and the insane person just gives into verbal diarrhea. He cleanses himself with mouth diarrhea instead of just taking the wormwood and worshipping Belphegor, the god of toilets, which is a real thing. Feed your shit to his mouth. Don't spew shit out of your own. That's the secret. There's a whole entity and a whole system of pipes that have been developed for you to feed your shit to. Do that and select your words a little more carefully. I have a problem with that. I like to fart and shit out of my mouth every now and then at people and distribute knowledge that probably belongs in the toilet. But it's true. There are truths that are mischaracterized, I think, as things that should be discarded, and I think they should be remembered and distributed. So I have to be rebellious in that sense. I have to critique, the sorting of knowledge into things that shouldn't be known versus things that should. That's just something I have a compulsion to do, and I'm going to follow that. And if you don't like it, you can shoot me behind the chemical sheds. These miniatures, man, they're pretty good. I gotta say, the miniatures with the car, there's a couple shots where they're kind of obvious, but they use smoke very, very, very well. God, she blasts through the fucking wall. God damn. It's so fucking good, man. My commentary for this is a shit commentary track, I will admit that. I'm not commentating about anything that's going on the screen, I'm just riffing. Because I love this movie so much. It's like blended into my subconscious. Like I don't have anything to say about it because I'm like, my viewers, the two people watching this, they must have seen this 30 times like I have, so I don't have to say anything. Like I don't have much to say. It's just good. Like the lighting is great. Oh god, the acid on his face. Oh fuck. That like everything's just so. It's just good. Like I have no criticism, positive or negative, man. Forget him, he's gone. Line delivery is so good. The music at this point too. Oh god, in his hands. Eat this. Fuck, man. Has there ever been a more awesome scene? Have some wormwood, bitch. Eat some absinthe. Eat some black walnut. It's so perfect, man. Holy fuck. Oh. God, again, the lighting. Just the way her face is lit is so good. Where the fuck did lighting go? I feel like real lighting on real human actors with just a little bit of sweat in their face from the lights, that died when CGI became something that people relied a little too much on. And again, you can use CGI beautifully. 300 and another movie I want to do a commentary track on, which is Sin City, which is a fucking masterpiece. Those are like all CGI. The lighting is all fake. But it's how it's done. This movie demonstrates how conventional lighting really affects... She gives it the thumbs up. Oh. Anyway, this movie demonstrates how conventional lighting plays such an important role in like characterization, like how you perceive these characters as real people. Like the Marvel schlock, the digital diarrhea that's being piped into your eyes lately is almost all CGI, and because of that, the lighting is wrong, and your eye, I don't think it's the textures and the objects that are fake, the computer generated objects, those are not as big of a deal as the computer generated lighting. Look at this scene, the smoke around Hicks, he's got sweat matting his hair to his forehead. Vasquez, you can see her muscles. She's this hardcore lesbian. She's got like glistening muscles. Ripley's smoking a cigarette. That is all real. It's really real. And the amount of money and effort and fucking gasoline and oil that it would take to power the computers to create anything close to a facsimile of this is so much more than just fucking filming it. Like, just film the real thing. Get a smoke machine. Let your actors actually smoke cigarettes. If an actor's, too much of a pansy to huff some cigarette smoke, get a different actor. Fuck them. Get real lights. Get real costumes. Film real sweat. Film real people. There's nothing better than that, man. You can't beat it with CGI. All the AI and CGI and computer demons in the world could never make this movie, man. 100 years from now, they couldn't make a movie this good. AI can suck my farts. This movie will never be made. Fucking Burke has a scar on his elbow. The actual actor has an elbow scar. That shit is irreplicable. There is no technology that can reproduce that, and there never will be. There never will be. Mark my fucking words. Again, oh, he's just nostalgic for this movie. He's simping for the 80s. Let time test my opinion. Let time vindicate me or prove me wrong. If I'm proven wrong, then I'm proven wrong. Fine. Whatever. Anyway, guys, as Spunkmeyer's about to be killed here, I'm going to end the video again here just real quick, just so I can reorient myself here. We're at 123.57. I'm going to say 59, 124. Peace out. Hello again, everyone, and welcome back. We are logging back in, jacking back into the Matrix to watch more of this epic movie. So again, we're at about 124.12 right now. I'm going to try to cap off this recording, cap off this movie, this commentary, in this recording, because 3 recordings for one video is kind of pathetic. I know. You don't have the stamina to do epic commentary for 2.5 hours straight? No, apparently I don't. Usually about an hour and 10 minutes is kind of my limit. But anyway, we just have this amazing scene here. The model of the ship crashing. God damn, man. I don't know how they composited the people into this shot, but it's just so fucking good. Again, real explosions, real material being destroyed. You can't beat it. You really can't beat it with CGI. Real sweat and grit and dirt everywhere. That is the true way of making a movie. True to the earth. You're using real materials and you're showing real things that are actually on fire. That's fucking crazy, man. Fucking Hudson freaking out. Straight up, the actor who played him, I don't remember his name, but my dad was a big fan of the Aliens series, so I stood in line for 4 hours to get Sigourney Weaver's autograph. And I'm not exaggerating when I say 4 hours. I was happy to do it because I wanted to meet her. Selfishly, I was like, fuck yeah, of course I'll do that. But my dad had this Blu-ray he wanted autographed, by these actors. And at the time I was volunteering for this Comic-Con thing. I was taking photos. I used to take PR photographs in order to get in for free. It was an easy way to get in for free, and you got access to sort of the backstage zone. You got to meet the actors. It was a fucking blast. It was fun. For a nerd like me, it was great. But I stood in line for Sigourney Weaver, got her autograph, and then Bill Paxton, that's the guy's name, who plays Hudson. I went to get his autograph on the same Blu-ray disc, and there weren't as many people, but there was a bit of a line, and I went up and, my dad was like, I want you to get him to write Game Over, Man. And in my head, I'm like, that's probably the thing he wants to do least, but that's also probably the thing I would want written on a disc, if I was this much of a fan of this movie. So, I went and I stood in line and I got him to write it. And, as I'm requesting him to do this, I see his face kind of like, ugh, like he's like suppressing a cringe. And I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. Like, it's not me who wants it, I swear. But it was really cool to just be able to meet him and shake his hand. And I got to meet a bunch of other people during that Comic-Con thing. I got to meet Lena Headey and Peter Dinklage, too, of Game of Thrones fame. And it was cool. It was cool to meet them, shake their hands, and be like, this is a real person, and, they've done some good work, and I'm happy to have just been able to see them in real life. It's a privilege to just say, hey, your work is great. I've enjoyed it. Kudos, good for you. I love Ripley's like, this little girl is fucking more of a badass than you. What? You're supposed to be some military fucker, He's fucking shitting his pants. He's fucking losing it. Poor Hudson, man. She's like, God damn it, white boy, deal with it. This little white girl is more of a badass Nordic warrior than you fucking silly Billy. And she's good. She's an effective female leader because she says, you need something to do, don't you, as a man? You're a cowardly... Not even cowardly. He's just broken. He's just fucking stressed out. And she's like, you need a task to complete, don't you? Because men like to have problems to solve. So she's like, here's a problem we need solving. And then fucking Lance Henriksen comes in. Can you imagine if, straight up, Lance Henriksen, right, in this role as this robot, can you imagine if he was Data from Star Trek The Next Generation? Can you imagine Lance Henriksen as Data? I feel like the best timeline, the ideal timeline that Isaac Newton's character from Escaflowne wanted to bring us to, Lance Henriksen, not Brent Spiner, was Data. Just imagine that. Imagine Lance Henriksen on the bridge of the Enterprise like, Captain, I cannot assess the viability of this planet. We have insufficient data in order to complete the assessment. That would be so fucking cool. He'd overshadow Picard. He'd overshadow Patrick Stewart. That's why it wouldn't work. But, just replace Patrick Stewart with fucking somebody else. So again, they're talking about, okay, we've got these two weak points in our little hovel here, our little hideaway, and we've got to barricade them. Which leads to one of the best scenes in this movie, one of the most tense scenes, where we don't see the aliens at all. All you see is the ammo counters on the guns going down, and you just hear the screams of the aliens. They don't show you anything. That is terrific. I think part of the reason, or maybe a major reason I like the video game Fear, is because watching this movie as a kid, the tone of it and the atmosphere are very much replicated by Fear, by the game, in that there's a lot of instances where the tension comes from like strategic limits, like your environment and your ammo are limited in such a way that it produces this tension that's extremely tangible. Like it's just good. It just makes you feel this sense of tension. It occupies your lizard brain in a civilized space where there aren't predators actually trying to kill you, but that part of your brain still exists. So you need an artificial way of channeling it. And movies, tense movies, dramas, horror movies, whatever, they all provide that sort of outlet. And games like Fear do the same thing. And I love this scene too. This scene between Hicks and Ripley, where there's like this faint suggestion of a romance, which was raped and ruined by this French edgelord director in the sequel to this. But in this movie, in this scene, it's like there's just this suggestion, like, if we hadn't met in such a shitty time, we could have had a family and had a nice life. But unfortunately, we have to spend our time killing parasites. That's the whole point of this era, this particular point in this particular timeline, is we all have to forego the normal behaviors of our bodies and our consciousness, and we have to spend our time hunting down parasites until they're all dead, because we can't be happy. We can't lead fulfilling, happy lives, not really, until all the parasites have been burned off the face of the earth. Whether we can do it ourselves or whether it takes the torrid meteors to wipe the slate clean, so to speak, whatever ends up needing to happen will happen. And whoever needs to survive will survive. And if you're not meant to survive, don't worry about it. You wouldn't want to. If you're not meant to persist, you really wouldn't want to. I love Newt. She's like, she's just a piece of plastic. She's red-pilled about plastic. She's like, she's just a piece of xenoestrogen, Ripley. She'll just turn men into women and women into hyper-women, and then our whole society will fall apart. Ripley's like, you're right, Newt. Now I'm gonna go kill some parasites. Thank you, Mummy. Thank you, surrogate Mummy. Did one of those things grow inside her? God! It's like the worst nightmare of a mother trying to explain to her daughter about female reproduction in humans, like the normal way it goes. And it's like, is that really how it has to happen? It's like, yes, unfortunately it is, because the language parasite that infected apes and made our brains mutate to an absurd size means that the head of the infant passing through the female pelvis is so painful that birth is a painful thing, which is why the Bible says, well, knowledge made birth painful. Eating the apple made birth painful. What that really means is learning language and being infected by that type of high-level pattern recognition. When I say language, I just mean really pattern. I mean intelligence. Knowledge is of course, the biblical metaphor, but I think language is a more useful term. It's more specific, and language can apply to pattern recognition, architecture, mathematics, medicine, really any discipline, because it's all, they all have their own languages. So the language center of the brain, moreover, is the part of the brain that mutates noticeably. Like, you can measure, if you have a wild child raised by wolves, literally, or who has never been taught by their parents to speak, if you do a brain scan of that child and you focus on the language center, it is physically different. And if you multiply that trend throughout several hundred or several thousand generations of evolution, the human brain gets larger, the cranium gets larger to support it, and in turn that makes female birthing more of a pain in the ass or a pain in the cunt because of the complexity of the brain. But it's language that does this. It's a signal from space. It's a pattern. It's a genetically imposed thing. It's a parasite. It's one or more of those things or all of them. Again, I don't have all the answers. All I know is that there are terms we've heard over and over again that all refer to the same idea. And if the idea can be conceptualized in such a way that the myriad of terms we've used to refer to it have enough of an overlap, like a big Venn diagram, then there's a point in the center of the Venn diagram, and we may not have a term for it. We may never be able to actually name it. It's kind of a Tower of Babel thing. But regardless, if that point in the middle of the Venn diagram does exist, then we know that there's a certain truth. There's an unnameable truth about what we are and why we're here. And that's what this movie, again, is trying to say with these aliens. It's saying, well, the horror of this movie is realizing that we are the aliens. It's not that these things exist that can infect us and they're tangible little spiders and we can kill them. That's not the horror. The horror is you are that thing. And there's no way of curing you because your sense of self, your consciousness, your soul, whatever you want to call it, yourself, your personality, you are that thing. And you are in this body. Now what? To me, the only way to surpass or to get past that horror is to confront the now what question. And I don't think you can do it with polluted, distorted, plagiarized, raped, cobbled together religious texts. I don't think religion in and of itself is necessarily bad, because religion is just another word for philosophy. It's another word for how to live your life. Religion, philosophy, and culture and tradition, all those four terms all really talk about the same thing. So people who get up in arms about, Christopher Hitchens, religion should be destroyed, it is evil. It's like, well, it doesn't matter, it'll take another form. It already has taken half a dozen other forms, you retard. Go die of throat cancer from drinking and smoking too much. My point is, anyway, fuck my point. Let's talk about this scene because it's really good. Ripley is finally realizing Burke is a fucking corporate stooge. He's infected with the parasite of capitalism, extremely evil. It's not that that's the case. It's just he's a greedy prick. Those people exist in tribal hut societies, and they also exist in communist societies. They'll exist forever. Greedy pricks are not going to go away because you change the system of human organization. That's such a fucking fallacy, man. The best example of that is in one of the Plinkett reviews of one of the Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull movie, where there's this character Mac who's like, "Oh, I betrayed you, Indiana Jones, 'cause I'm a capitalist." That's like a literal line of dialogue, and it's like Plinkett just goes, "People have been greedy since the dawn of time. Since when has greed been tied to a particular economic system?" And I laugh my ass off at that review, because it's so true. That take, I have to say, Harry Plinkett, he's an old friend of mine. When I was a kid, he used to read me stories. He used to read me Grimm's fairy tales at Mar-a-Lago. And he was always a good man, He was a bit of a prick, but, he's 140 years old. What do you expect? Anyway, this scene here with the fucking guns going down and the pounding, that's the real shit. It's their expressions as they talk about how close they are to being fucking ripped apart. "The parasites are in the small intestine. They'll be at the liver soon, then they'll go to the brain." "That's it, the emergency cleansing. The diarrhea forces the parasite eggs out." "How long till it blows?" "The diarrhea radius of 30 kilometers. Equal to 40 megatons. He took a lot of black walnut. This is going to be a big one." Fuck, man. I think different substances work for different people, man. For me, it's alcohol. I'll never be able to escape it. I've tried going off of it, and even if I go off of it for like 6 months, I just feel like shit. I can't control myself unless I'm slightly faintly drunk. I just can't do it. I must be a Prometheus kin.
Guys, I'm Prometheus kin. Some people, they're furries. Some people, they think they're inanimate objects. They're table kin or tile kin. I'm Prometheus kin. I need a little bit of alcohol every day to function. Not much, not a ton, but a little bit. Like right now.
You can count me out.
As cringy as his character is, I think the performance is great. God, and then Bishop's just like, I'll do it. He's like, robots could kill your parasites, you human morons. Maybe you should use robotics and nanomachines and Neuralink and all these technologies. Maybe use them to purge you of parasites. Maybe that would be, a better use of technology than making masturbation machines, which seems to be what we're most obsessed with. That's not real though. That's a surface level media thing to sell the technology. That's to generate funding. Hopefully, the tech gets used for stuff like this movie's metaphorically implying, where there'll be a technological way of instantly frying any parasites that try to infect our bodies. It reminds me of another conspiracy theory I heard about too, where being saved, the reason that computer savvy folk and programmers and developers and the like, over the history of computing, have poached terms like archon and save, etc., from religious texts, is because maybe the real, actual, divine, true religion is to be as willing and as sort of accepting, I guess, of tech as possible, because your soul, your data, your DNA, the information that constitutes who you are, won't be preserved except through some kind of server that exists underground, and can endure whatever the torrid meteor barrage is going to do to us. If there's a server deep underground, and the funniest or most interesting or most talented people, whoever is most interesting really, will be preserved on that server and be re-uploaded into some kind of fake body after the meteors hit. That might be the real definition of being saved. You're literally being saved. Your genetic code, your personality is being scanned and analyzed by how you behave on the internet and how you behave in real life, and that behavior, the information tied to it is being saved by somebody. And really, you have a choice in how you respond to that environment. Like, we live in an environment where your cell phone can make a three-dimensional map of your position in your room. It can tell how many people are in your house right now. And you can say that's creepy, because it is, and I agree with you. But what if there wasn't a nefarious purpose behind it? What if the nefarious purpose was a cloak for paranoid idiots to freak them out, because we don't want paranoid idiots being saved? What if the actual purpose of these technologies is to save people who actually want to be saved and want to live? And the people who want to die out have made a choice to be obliterated forever, or to be consigned to some sort of hell by their own choice. There's a whole subset of conspiracy theories that talk about that. But anyway, to go back to the movie for a minute, we have another nice scene here between Hicks and Ripley where he's saying, "Here's how to fire a gun. When the commie zombies invade from San Francisco and they attack Montana and Utah and all these other states, you're going to have to know how to fire a gun to protect our white children." That's what he's saying to her. And she's like, "Ooh, senpai, what do I do? Show me how to handle your cock." But the scene is not indulgent, it's not worthless, like most scenes like this would be in the decades to come. It's actually practical because she uses the fucking gun to literally protect Newt, who isn't even her kid. But she uses the weapon because Hicks has taught her how to do it. She uses it later in the film. So this is a setup and payoff situation. It's a classic aspect of film that somehow the moronic, degenerate directors and writers in Hollywood from about the late 90s to sort of right now in the mid-2020s, they completely lost this. Like, they're like, oh, things don't need to be set up anymore. We can just do random bullshit and surprise the idiot Zoomer audiences we have, because all they want is something that's unexpected. They don't care if there's any logic behind the events that they're watching on the screen. They just want to watch things they didn't expect. So that's the reason for the sort of subverting your expectations for the sake of subverting them whole thing. That's best exemplified, I think, by not The Force Awakens, but the sequel to it, whatever the second movie was. The one that was the Rian Johnson one that was fucking dog shit. It was terrible. And I love the fact that Newt probably saved her own life by sleeping under the bed. This is such a beautiful detail where monsters are supposed to be under your bed, and Newt felt more protected with her bed above her shielding her, despite the fact that monsters are supposed to be under your bed. Whether she heard that myth or not, she's like, I just feel safer underneath my bed. Probably because she's used to sleeping on floors from just, scavenging and scrounging around a derelict base. But there's a chance that because she did that, she actually avoided getting impregnated by the facehugger, because it probably would have gone for her if she was sleeping face up in her bed, So the weird thing is, her instinct, right, her lizard brain, deep, or mammalian brain, both of which are tied to instinct, listening to those parts of her brain because she's a child, may have saved her life. And it's always a common trope in science fiction, in fact, that the adult characters are often so caught up in their pineal gland, frontal lobe, evolved language brain that they ignore their instincts. And the true way to exist in these bodies, at this point anyway, is to establish a middle ground, a middle path, you might say. Wonder where that phrase originated. Wonder what it means. The true way to exist in a harmonious, balanced way is to establish a middle ground where you're satisfying your base desires in whatever way you can, as well as obviously designing your life with your smarter, logical, linguistic part of your brain as the Captain Picard, you might say. It's almost like the gray ships, especially the TNG ship, they're gray and they're circular. They're sort of these spheroid, oblong, gray shapes. What does that remind you of? It's almost like a top-down view of the human brain, as in gray matter, with the captain, aka Captain Picard, at the front of the ship, aka the captain's, the bridge, rather, which is your conscious mind, your pineal gland, your language center, controlling things. But you still have a Commander Worf. You still have a Guinan serving drinks to people. You still have an engine room, right? You have to have all these things or the ship can't fucking move. So it's almost like these shows are unconsciously constructed and projected metaphors for how to exist in a human body, aka a meat spacesuit. And the reason I bring up all this weird shit is because that's what this movie is saying too, is it's saying, you're this weird sort of chimera construct, backwater evolution thing that may or may not be unintentional. the thing implies that humans are an unintentional mistake. You can read stories like Roadside Picnic too that imply that this planet was not supposed to have intelligent life on it. That was not the intent of God or of an alien race or of Demiurge or Sophia or whoever the fuck you want to name or name drop. That we are literally a mistake or an accident. That doesn't make us worth anything less than something intentional. But what it means is that if there are benevolent forces, you can tell those forces are benevolent because they're trying to tell you how to operate yourself in a optimal way. Anyone telling you how to destroy yourself or how to egotistically elevate yourself to some kind of extreme is trying to fuck with you or take advantage of you. And it's hard, because the people who are compelled to tell people to do the right thing don't get any reward from it. And it's not that they're egotistical and they want a reward. It's more so that they literally can't live. They can't exist. They're exhausted. They don't have any support because they tend to give their whole life and all their energy to those endeavors to the point where they are so fucking exhausted by just saying one true thing to two people that they can't get away with telling a large group of people anything worth hearing because they literally can't do it. Their bodies start to sort of rot. They expend too much energy. So Ripley's being choked here, and she's not really into that. She didn't consent to that. And God, the fact that it takes like 3 Marines to heft this thing off of her, I love it. It's like how inhumanly strong these things are. They're like snakes. They're like pure muscle, and they just want to fucking choke you and rape you. It's so fucked. Yeah, you know what? Killing him would have been the best option, man. I would have loved to see a version of this movie where they paint the walls of this thing with his brains. He figured he could hide the fact that we're all infected by parasites. No one would know about the parasites in our tissues. All of us in the West. The only way he could keep the secret hidden would be to manipulate the pharmaceutical industry to make Band-Aid solutions and treat other health problems unrelated, or supposedly unrelated, to parasite infection, and hide the true fact that parasite eggs were the cause of most of our health problems, cancers, and premature deaths. In return, the pharmaceutical companies would pay him millions and give him the cures to the parasites, and let him live a long and peaceful life. You don't see them fucking each other over for a goddamn percentage. I mean, I used to love that line, but, lots of species will eat their own children for sustenance and, fuck each other over in much more brutal ways. There's homosexuality and rape in almost every mammalian species in some percentage, so it's not unique to humans. Humans are not uniquely evil. We're not uniquely good either. We're just uniquely weird. The difference between us and other forms of life is we're weirder. If you really want to know what our strength is and what intelligence is, it's excessive weirdness. It's weirdness jacked up so high that even God is like, what the fuck is going on with these things? Like that whole sort of there's an idea of human societies in general, and this is a Western idea, so really I'm talking about Western societies, and this probably only goes back about 600 years, but there's an idea that there is a way of conceiving Western subjects in Western society and existing as a Western individual as performing an eternal play that is meant to entertain higher beings of some kind, whether they're DMT elves or demons or gods or aliens or interdimensional beings or whatever. The point is that we're doing all of this shit that we're doing in order to be an eternal sideshow. We're literally players putting on a play. The cliche quote that characterizes this view of reality is the Shakespeare quote, "All the world's a stage and we are merely players." And then there's that, and there's also Dante's Divine Comedy, which if you just isolate the phrase divine comedy, it's a comedy put on for the entertainment of divine beings. And divine doesn't mean good. It just means higher up. It just means different. It means different dimension. So the whole emphasis on performance and illusion and telling stories and making each other into characters and playing your life like it's a D&D game, that is a direct product of the philosophy of the West, that existence should be conceptualized as a performative thing, and that no matter what you're doing, you're playing a role. Even if you try to go full Kaczynski mode, you're playing the role of the hermit. Oops, you're still entertaining the gods. Too bad. Even if you just kill yourself, if you just you end your life, then you're still playing a role, because the gods have already invented a role to encompass that behavior. Even if you meditate in a temple and try not to move or do anything, you're still playing a role. You're playing the role of the person who didn't want a role. And that'll drive you nuts if you really start to think about it hard. The fact that you're sort of trapped, like no matter what you do, there's already a pre-established role that you can play. You can play a role badly, but really all that does is it turns you into some kind of clown. Because if you're playing a role badly intentionally, you'll just be made into a clown. And you can look at this as a type of hell, or you can look at it like, oh, we're just playing a video game. We're higher dimensional beings playing a game, which is, I think, the closest thing to the truth that we're ever going to be able to conceptualize. I think we are playing a very, very advanced form of D&D, and the restrictions are not there to try to torture you. The restrictions are there to try to give you a fun path to walk. And if you want to interpret them as horrifying and not pick one, you'll be stuck in character creation until you pick one. And if you want to pick one and fuck it up, well, you'll have a bad time in the game. So the best thing you can do, no matter what your religion, philosophy, culture, customs, race, whatever is, the great thing about this, the scary thing about it, is it applies to literally every human being in every culture, in every race, in every age, is no matter what, pick a thing you want to do and do it. Whether you want to make sculptures out of cow patties or be a quantum physicist, if you do either one of those things really well, you'll have a lot of fun because you've picked a class. And there are subclasses and sub-specifications, There's plenty of different nuances and choices. It's a branching tree. This type of game that we're playing. And I realize, that describing reality as a game has been demonized. It's only psychopaths who think of reality as a game. I submit to you this: anybody successful has looked at their life as a game in some way. I think that's fundamentally true. I think it doesn't matter if you're an atheist, an agnostic, a Christian, a Satanist, a Buddhist, a Muslim, whatever. If you don't look at reality as a type of game that has paths that you can walk and rewards and punishments, you are an idiot. You're not conscious. You're a drone. You're a zombie. You're an NPC. If you don't look at life that way, somehow you're fucked. And it doesn't mean you're not going to be able to play. It's just you'll be stuck in character creation until your consciousness realizes, okay, fine, I want to be a rogue or I want to be a paladin, You're going to be stuck in limbo till you want to play, because you signed up for this shit. Your consciousness signed up to play this game. Maybe you wanted to be Vasquez in this little red tube. Also, you know what? Something that always bugged me about this is we don't get to see Burke getting killed. I feel like that I mean, you couldn't do too many gory money shots in the mid '80s, but I feel like seeing Burke getting killed would have been great. Man, just thinking of reality as like a D&D game. I'm trying to finish up a project right now, writing project. I won't get more specific than that. But it reminds me of the Baldur's Gate 3 quest line with the book The Necromancy of Thay, and how you have to succeed these perception rolls every time you turn a page. And as I'm trying to finish this project, I feel like I'm just trying not to go insane. And every time I work on it, it's like I do a bunch of rolls that I can't, in real life you can't load a save, you know, and I feel like the more I work on it, the closer I get to going nuts. And I'm not sure if I have the balls to make those rolls. I'm not sure if I'll be able to heal myself if I fail a roll too many times, so to speak. What I'm writing and what I'm doing is not significant. It's not going to save the world, but it's more so that it's just going to destroy me. That's more what I'm worried about. Is it going to destroy my mind just by doing this? God, Vasquez's death scene, fuck. I love the last line. She's like, "I always hated you, Gorman." She's like confessing to him before she dies. Fuck, man. That is heinous shit. Oh, don't lose her. Don't lose her hand. Oh, you got her sleeve.
Oops. Failed the saving roll there, Ripley. You rolled a 4 when you needed a 10. Too bad, so sad. You're a terrible mother. The movie ends here. The credits are rolling because you didn't save your child at a pivotal moment. You made fun of them for shitting themselves, or you spanked them, or you did something that you didn't think would be psychologically harmful, but it turned out that it ruined their whole life. Oops, too bad. Your kid's dead. Your kid's undead. They might as well be dead. You failed. Bye-bye. Welcome to hell. I'll be the demon that tortures you. You've made me into that. Congratulations. I now have to fill that role, and you now have to experience my existence forever. I'm not going anywhere. Congratulations. You made me. You summoned me. Is it worth it? Are you happy with your joyous little package? God, why would you go back into the water? Who the fuck cares if you get some sparks in your eye? Stay next to the goddamn grate. Why the fuck would you go back in the water? She's like, I had to pee, so I'm gonna pee in the water. The alien's like, oh, there she is. Fucking dumbasses. Tell her to put her jacket or her shirt over her face until you're done the welding. Surely the welding isn't going to kill her as much as the alien is. God damn it, this scene. I was never bothered by it until just now. It's like, it's fucking stupid, man. I understand, they're trying to create tension. I get it. It's a good scene. It's well filmed. But it would have been better if she'd been up on the pipe with her coat over her head and she's peeking out from under her coat, and then the alien comes up out of the water and they don't save her in time. That would have been great. Again, the premise is not bad. It's the execution. It's the how, not the premise. God, the doll's head in the water. Fuck, man. Oh, she's with the parasites in the sewer. She's fucked.
God, Hicks being a true man. He's like, listen, I believe you. He's like, I get it. Male hysteria is a thing too. It just manifests differently. He's like, I'm hysterical too, bitch. Like, I get it. Don't worry about it. That's a real man. He's able to mediate. Real men are not aggressive retards. They're not edgy alphas, and they're not cucks either. They're mediators. They're competent. They're able to mediate between their lizard and mammal and language brains. There are 3 different aspects to your brain that you need to be able to balance. And if you can't find a point somewhere near the center of that Venn diagram of 3 circles, kind of like that Celtic shape of 3 circles. I wonder why it's 3 circles. I wonder why it's a holy trinity. I wonder why it's a triangle. I wonder why it's 33. It's almost like you people are so fucking stupid that we can tell you something subtly and also overtly at the same time, and you won't get it no matter what we say. It's almost like we've tried to tell you 50 different ways. And again, you gotta read another science fiction story to know what I'm talking about. The Things by Peter Watts. The last line of that story. I'm not going to spoil it. You got to go read it or watch a reading of it. There's a very good reading on YouTube by a guy who doesn't have a lot of subscribers, but I can't remember his name, but he has a very good reading of it. And he basically reads the story. There's like a half dozen readings of it, but it's The Things with an S by Peter Watts. And any of these readings of this story, there is a line from that story. It's the last line. And it's not a long story. You can listen to it while you're taking a shit. If your diet's bad, you can probably listen to the whole fucking thing. The last line of that story encapsulates what I'm saying, where it's like angels, demons, archons, aliens, DMT elves, interdimensional beings, spirits, whatever you want to call them. They're trying to tell us how to not suffer needlessly. And if we don't listen, they're not so different to us, I think, in that they do have pity and sympathy for us. And if we're not listening, if we're too stubborn, they're just going to force us to hear what they're saying. And when they do that, it might not be pleasant in the short term. In the long term, it'll be great, no matter what. But the last line of that Peter Watts short story, The Things, it kind of summarizes what's going to happen. It's the last sentence. It's the last line of that story. And I really think it's true. I don't think the act that it focuses on is necessary, but I think that the general conception of the desperation and the finality of it, I think it works. God, she tells him her real name. He's like, don't be gone, Ellen. Oh, God. God damn it, this one scene. His one eye is burnt out. She's going off to fight for her kid. I've had exes where this is like, I feel like this is how we parted ways. I'm injured on some bed and she's going off to do something else, and I'm like, all right, go ahead. I can go with you, you know. She's like, I can't stay with you either, and it's like, I would love to be with you, and then it's just like, all right, it's not going to work, bye. Like, that's the saddest way to break up, man. Whether you've been with someone or not, or whether you've been with them a short term or a long term, the saddest breakup is the one where it's like this almost non-verbal acknowledgement of something that both people want to happen, but you just have this innate, deep, strong feeling that it wouldn't work out, but you still want it to happen. That's torturous. And I've had that happen to me way more times than I've had relationships be successful, where it's like, it's not that we didn't have a connection. It's that we had a connection, but there was some kind of life circumstance for both of us that was so imperative and so strong that the emotional and romantic and you know, the love that was genuinely there failed to convince one or more of us to change our plans, you know? It just wasn't strong enough, but it was still strong. It was still there, you know. It was still powerful, and I I just living a life where I've experienced that like 4 or 5 times. I just don't even want to be with anybody anymore. I just rather cut off my balls and be a eunuch and not be attracted to anyone. Just rip the whole burden out of me. Just excise it from my entire body. I don't actually want that. It's just when I'm depressed and commentating upon aliens. That's the type of shit I think about. This movie, again, it portrays reproduction in a very grisly H.R. Geiger kind of potentially demoralizing and cognito-hazardous and anti-natalist kind of way. It's very, it's fucked up. I love using those terms to reveal the intent of those terms' creators. I love telling you guys about this shit, because nobody in the academic camps will ever tell anybody like you this type of shit. They think they're better than you, or they think you're stupid. And I don't think you're stupid. I think they're stupid. I think we're equally stupid, frankly. But, what do I know? I'm a mediator. I'm a shit-eating moron. What do I know? But the reason I talk about these concepts in a way that is not conventional and is not tied to the intentional and original context of these terms, like antinatalist and, cognito-hazardous and whatever else, is because these contexts are not exclusive to who created them. When you cast a spell, when you make up a word, when you make up a philosophy or a movement or a religion or even a custom, that thing you've made, that demon you've summoned, is not bound to you, even if you think it is. It's only bound to you in as much as you can restrict anybody else from knowing about it. So if you summon the demon of and you're the only person who knows the spelling of that demon's name, then maybe okay, you've got control of it. But it can't do anything, because for it to do anything, or for that concept or idea or notion or meme or ideology or whatever you want to call it, again, religions, traditions, these types of things are what I'm talking about. For those things to have any power, other people have to understand what they are enough to be enthralled by them or be affected by them. They have to be able to be infected by the parasite eggs. If they're immune, if they don't have the genetic weakness to infection, right? If that weakness hasn't been spread somehow, then they can't be infected. So your creation of that monster, your invocation of that force is pointless. And I'm using elaborate and dramatic schizos type of metaphors to refer to language. What I'm really talking about is there are linguistically transmitted runic magic spell-casted things that are trying to influence how you behave. And the reason that you're receptive to these things, the reason that you're receptive to suggestion in the first place, to demoralization, to moralization, to good things, right, as well as evil, is because you understand language. And maybe it would be better if none of us had learned language in the first place, and we had evolved some sort of psychic ability independent of language. Maybe that's better. Maybe language is evil. I don't know. Maybe language is the only good thing, and our primal animal meat body desires are all demonic and they're all holding us back. I don't know. That's a very significant question. I think it needs to be asked more often in that context. But let's get away from that schizolinguistic shit for a moment. Let's talk about the Queen's ovipositor. Ah, yes. She's eternally pooping eggs. Does she get any pleasure from shitting them out? Is it like taking a shit? Or is it just painful? I hope it's painful, because this is fucked up. It's just an ant queen. This is where the ant metaphor is really... It's very fucking blatant, but imagine This isn't the 1949 movie Attack of the Giant Ants. This is much more nuanced, man. I mean, look at how her face descends. It's like a cock coming out of its sheath. That's the H.R. Geiger thing. Where you have male and female sexuality, the most violent and creepy aspects of both sexualities are combined. And you just have this avatar of Slanesh from 40K, like total demonic sexuality. Like, it's not male, it's not female, it's not even transgender. It's just evil. It's just evil sex. And the only thing Ripley has, the beautiful thing, is the fire of Prometheus, Christ, and Lucifer. She's got the flame. And that's the only thing that the lizard mammal brain fucking demon responds to. Is it's like, I will summon down so many fucking Taurid meteors. I'll burn every parasite egg to fucking ash. There'll be nothing left. That's my threat to you. You stay the fuck in your cave. You stay away from my children, or I'll burn the whole game down. I'll nuke the whole fucking game. It's so badass, man. She's just this sweaty fucking chick. And then I love it. The egg opens up, and I kind of hate this, because it's almost like she's like, did the queen make the egg open up, or did the egg open up on its own accord? That bothers me. That's always bothered me about this scene, because Ripley cocks her head as if to imply that the queen has broken their unspoken deal. Like she said, I won't harm you if you let me leave, and then an egg opens up. And it's like, is it the queen literally sending some nerve signal through the creepy tendrils on the ground into that specific egg to get it to open up to infect Ripley at the last minute? Did she really do that? Or are the eggs autonomous? I don't know. But in any case, Ripley reacts perfectly how she should. I mean, it's how I would react. It's like, well, either the queen's not in control of her own eggs, in which case I'm fucked anyway, or she's broken our deal. But the reason that's significant is it speaks to the intelligence of the queen and her capabilities to control her own eggs. I mean, I don't know, maybe there was a break in the goop strand, the little neuron goop strand between the queen and that one egg, who knows. But again, whatever the case, Ripley's totally justified. I would have done the same thing. If I had Ripley's got more balls than me. She's a woman. God, the fucking vaginal egg sac ripping away scene. Christ, that's fucked up, man. And she left herself flares. We've got a nice Germanic fable metaphor. You have the witch queen, aka the alien queen, in the gingerbread house, right? And then you have Hansel and Gretel. In this case, it's Gretel and Gretelette, who left glowing digital breadcrumbs for themselves to get back to the elevator. Excellent scene. The tension in this scene, the sense of hopelessness and brutality, and the smoke, the sweat, the lights. I mean, I don't have to gush about it. I don't have to be a fucking pansy, namby-pamby about it. You guys know what I'm talking about if you're watching this. If you're not watching along with this, that's creepy, man. If you're listening to this commentary and you're not watching the movie, what the fuck's wrong with you? Oh, fuck, there she is. Holy fuck, man. How the fuck did they get the animatronics to look that horrifying? To move that creepily? God. That's it. Hit it with fire. When all else fails, use fire, use light. Light is always better, even if it's slightly demonic light. It's better than darkness. Darkness is the worst. God lives in darkness. If you believe the the Gnostic interpretation, God is a dark God. Light is all we've got. That's why you have to be a friend to light, no matter what. I gotta say, if reality's a D&D game, God being a dark thing, it's a lot more fun. If God was a god of light, I don't know, game would be too easy. I think anyone who's here in this reality, able to hear this recording, I think we all asked for God to be dark, because it's more fun. That's why all our heroes, even our anti-heroes and our edgy, heroes, they're light bringers. I think every religion, you could characterize every religious figure as someone who brought light. The evil ones are the ones saying, "Oh, you don't need light. Just be calm and serene and peaceful in the dark." Those are the evil ones. The ones who want you to sit in the dark with your eyes closed. Those are the evil things. Regardless of the religion, philosophy, race, culture, whatever, if any entity or any person or any being is saying to you, you should shut your eyes and relax and just stay asleep in the dark forever, that is evil. Evil wants you to be asleep in the dark forever. Obviously you need sleep, you gotta rest. Don't be an insomniac, you'll go nuts. But the purveyors of darkness are trying to calm you into submission, whereas even Lucifer is like, if you're about to fall into my hell, don't do it. Don't give in to your pride. Learn to use it. Learn to balance it. Balance yourself. Same with Christ. He's like, well, if you're too selfless, you'll die. You'll have to die on the cross, but you'll be reborn, and then you'll be less selfless. You'll bring a sword, not peace, right? And then there's Prometheus, who's like, well, even if you want to be neutral, you have to sacrifice something. You got to be drunk to extract knowledge, like me, like Madman. I'm a Promethean. If I had to pick one of the three Lightbringers, I'm 100% Promethean, absolutely. That's clearly the ancient bloodline I'm descended from, is giving up my liver in service of knowledge distribution over and over again. I drink in the evening, my liver gets ripped out and repaired during the night, my body repairs it, and then the next day I go through the whole thing again. Prometheus is just it's a roundabout metaphor for a drunk, basically. It's the ancient Greek winos were basically all Prometheans. Oh. There they go in their little spaceship into the sky. But what could still be happening? There's still about 10 minutes left in the movie. What could be going on?
Poor Hicks, he got a Baldur's Gate illithid parasite in his left eye. His left eye is fucked. He's got to be taken to a healer.
She's like, you know what, Microsoft AI, you did an okay job. I'd let you control my pussyfucker robot device any day. And then, he gets fucking raped. God, he's coming out of his mouth. Whoa, he's a fucking squirter. Woo! Come on, Bishop, control that shit. This is a movie for children. It's really not. Holy fuck. God, he gets ripped in half. Man, they evaded the censors well with that. They're like, well, the robots have cum blood. That's not red, right? That's okay if it looks like cum. And all the censors are like, well, it's not red like blood, so that's okay. And it's like, okay, cool. God, her jaw. Oh, God. The fucking translucent sinuous wires. Like, ah, Christ, that's fucking fucked. God, she's drooling. Ripley's sweating. Oh my God, this scene, man. Fucking hell. Oh my God, dude. Fuck. This is so good, man. I don't know. If this doesn't affect you, you're dead. You're dead inside, man. God, Newt looking up through the grate again. She's fucking in the sewers. Ugh. The Ant Queen finds her. Her bony ass fingers. She's like a witch. God. Ah. I don't remember this, man. Her ripping the grates off like this. Fuck. And then, of course, the best scene in the movie. She's like, technology will kill biological parasites, you fucking demon. I will rip you out of my tissues one oocyte at a time. Get away from her, you bitch. Woo! Hell yeah! Any of you want a strong woman? This is what you gotta be. If you want to be a strong woman in my books, you gotta do this. Then you know what? I'll let you sit on my face. I'll let you do anything. If you can be Ripley in these movies, that's my standard for women. It's unrealistically high, I'll admit that. I don't give a shit. That's what it is. If you want to be with me, you gotta be Ripley. Be Ripley, and I'll let you do whatever you want to me. If you can kill my parasites, if you can do that. If you're parasite free, which obviously is a prerequisite, and you can kill mine in this type of fashion, then my God, my life is yours. I won't say my soul is yours, but my soul's best energies are yours. My soul is mine. I bought it with my blood a while back. I'm happy to be an island. I'm happy to be alone. If no one comes along. I bought my own soul, and I paid quite a heavy price for it. But I really did want to be sure that I owned it, and nobody else. And there was really only one way to do it. So, yeah. In any case, I'm not some kind of incel. Hit me up.
If you're into face sitting and face farting, hit me up. If you're into creepy, weird fetishes, hit me up. I am a degenerate. If you're into giant robot suits and giant alien parasites, hit me up. I need you to put on this giant robot suit that I built myself. I welded it in my backyard. I also welded this alien queen suit that I will wear, and you will try to defeat me. That will be our role play. You will be my Ripley in my giant robot suit, and I will be the alien. The safe word is banana. The safe word is bishop. Don't worry, we'll have an AI watching us the whole time. Like all of us do.
Oh God, Bishop's torso. Ah, that's so grisly how it's fucking fluttering across the boards, man. God, its guts are fucking flailing around. I love this scene. It's like, oh yeah, her arm muscle would totally be able to hold a 400-pound alien. I guess, all mass has been rendered mute by the vacuum. That wouldn't render mass. It wouldn't change the fact that mass and inertia in a oxygen-rich environment would be affected by the vast force of oxygen blasting out of the airlock. Ripley's arm would have just been ripped off. Movie equals fail. 0 out of 10 for scientific accuracy. God, she barely saves her leg. Fucking hell. Again, the performances in this are great. The blocking is great. The general, this is a great scene. I'm nitpicking for fun, but I love this scene, man. I love it. The next movie is so fucked up, I'm never going to do a commentary on it straight up. I'll do a commentary on the first Alien and the fourth one, Resurrection, but never the third one. The third one's not a terrible movie per se, but it's so lazy in how it dismisses the ending of this movie because the director couldn't come up with a better way of dealing with this ending than just killing everyone. I mean, that is the laziest thing. Like, imagine if you were hired to direct, Star Wars Episode 2, and someone said, well, Luke isn't sure what's happening, and his friends are beset by all these different challenges, and they have associations with all these shady people, and the director was like, what if we just killed everyone, and then only Luke is left, and he is depressed because everyone else is dead. That's what the director of Alien 3 thought. He was like, that's my best choice, is to just kill everyone, except Ripley, because Ripley's our biggest money-making star. I mean, it's a fucking sickening decision. Again, these actresses and actors went on to do other things. They're fine. The story doesn't matter because it's all fake, but what bothers me is the laziness of it. It's like you couldn't think up anything better than just, I'll kill everyone but Ripley and cast new actors. Like that's it. So, we're not going to do Alien 3. We're going to pretend it doesn't exist. But anyway, the credits are rolling, guys. We are at 2 minutes 31:44. So I'm going to go ahead and end things here. Thank you for watching. If the video's off by a few seconds, it doesn't matter because I mostly just ranted about random crap. But I do appreciate your viewership. I do appreciate you listening. This movie, again, it's dear to my heart. It's a very good movie. And I hope that you've seen it before this creepy, crazy recording, because I'm sure I distracted you if you decided to pay any attention to my commentary whatsoever. You should watch this movie on its own without subtitles. You should listen to the dialogue. The delivery of the dialogue's really good. The soundtrack is great. Pay it the attention that it's due. Anyway, at 2 hours 32 minutes 34 seconds, I'm going to say thank you for watching, and as always, peace out, guys.